When it comes to wealth management, there are four types of professionals out there. The key is finding the consummate professional that really takes your best interest to heart. We're going to break down those four, explain them to you, and tell you a few stories so you can know what to expect. Welcome in. This is Legacy Beyond Wealth. Glad to have you here on the show once again. If you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, please do that. We'd appreciate that support. Help us continue to grow the channel. We appreciate those that have done so far. Rob, welcome in. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate being on here again.
Yeah, and I like this breakdown, the four different types of professionals out there. And I think, everybody, I think going into the process doesn't really know the difference, right? I think a lot of that is just not knowing, what different advisors do, what different professionals do, and really what to be on the lookout for.
Absolutely. And, we came up with these four types to kind of classify and educate clients a little bit. I think that old saying of a wise man learns from his mistakes, a wiser man learns from mistakes of others.
Yeah.
After being at this for 20 years and meeting various clients for the first time and hearing their stories and maybe some of their trauma and dealing with people that were less than the ideal professional, really wants us to be able to help get the news out there of what do you look for? How do I make sure that I'm working with the right professional that's not going to be there to take advantage of me, whether intentionally or unintentionally?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to try to give you some stories to kind of help highlight and identify, what we're talking about here. But let's get into the four different types here, Rob. What's the first one you want to share?
Yeah, the first one's a pretender. This is someone that is really trying to do a good job. They just lack the knowledge and expertise. Typically, we find this to be a newer individual into the industry that they're trying real hard, but they just don't have the knowledge and expertise to give the right advice that's out there. I remember meeting with a prospect here recently that was looking to come on board as a client. And it was interesting. She said, I never knew there was something better out there to be able to be offered to me until I met you guys. And I think, she felt like she was getting the best service she could from her individual, but really the individual only had the training that what the company had offered, the investment company. And so it really didn't go into other areas of her life that were really important for her. And while she felt like she was very satisfied, what she didn't know, she didn't know. And I think it's important to make sure that you look at using individuals that have the air of expertise and are really committed to ongoing education. I mean, you can ask any one of my team members. That's a huge thing for us is continuing education. Every Friday, we're getting together as a team and breaking down training and how do we become better. We're going to conferences, reading books, trying to always stay up to date as best as we can, because we know that that's what makes us most valuable to our clients. And you got to make sure you're working with a professional that's really out there and not, for lack of a better term, pretending to be a professional industry, but really has that professional status.
Yeah, is that something you can ask, I guess, an advisor that you're meeting on? Because I think the tough part is just knowing what questions to ask. But is that something to focus in on? Hey, what kind of continuing education do you guys do? What are your priorities in that area?
Absolutely. And I think you can start to feel it a little bit.
Okay.
And I think some people get worried about asking tough questions.
Mm-hmm.
I would say be comfortable asking those tough questions, because at the end of the day, this is a very important decision that you're making. So ask those tough questions and see how they get answered. And I wouldn't be worried about offending anybody, because at the end of the day, this is someone that's going to be the most trusted person, one of the most trusted person in your life.
All right, very good. So the first one on the list here is pretender. What's number two?
So the next one is predators. Now, these are individuals who primarily have a focus to be able to use clients for their own personal gain. And because of that, they may know or have an inkling that there might be something better out there for the client, but they necessarily don't go do the research or anything of that nature. The ones that I like to think of on this side is the analogy of a hammer and a nail, where the professionals at hammer and they've got one product or service that they're going to offer, and they see everybody else as a nail where they can be able to make some money off of them by utilizing that product or service, and not going out beyond that product or service to see what else there is for the client. I think of a couple of examples that I have there. I had a client who had a relative of hers that was in the insurance industry and told her to meet her goals of what she wanted to do, she needed to buy a very expensive life insurance policy. And it seemed like the answer to every question was life insurance was the silver bullet that was going to help clients meet their goals
Mm.
in any way, shape, or form. And I remember meeting with him and talking through things. And, it got to the point where we really felt like this was going to distract from the client's goals. And there was a lot of better other tools to utilize. And life insurance pays some of the highest commissions in the industry. And he made a very handsome commission off that. We asked the client to sign a disclosure just saying, hey, we advised against it. We'll do what we need to help you have a successful transaction. We're going to advise against it. That was about 10 years ago. And now we meet with the client. She mentions, man, I know that you were very strong on your opinions, and I probably should have listened to you, because she's now seeing all of the downside effects that necessarily weren't described to her or maybe were briefed over. We tried to make sure she was aware of it. But, those are things that you want to make sure that someone's out there looking again at all options to help you accomplish what you're looking for, not necessarily just the options that help them to have a handsome commission or a good living.
All right, very good. So pretenders and predators, 1 and 2. Sounds like we're getting a little worse as we move along. So what's number 3?
Number three is probably the worst ones out there. These are the exploiters.
Okay.
I mean, they actively are going out there. They know better, but they are actively out there exploiting individuals. And in Utah, unfortunately, we're known as the Ponzi scheme capital of the world. And when I think of exploiters, I can't think of anyone else other than those that are actively on the Ponzi scheme side. And I look at it, and we probably have working with just over 10 clients that unfortunately had previous advisors that had issues with being involved in Ponzi schemes, and very devastating for a client financially to be able to be in that position. Sometimes the advisor maybe didn't know as much, and that might put them in the pretenders category. But if they definitely knew what they were doing and they went out and actively got people involved in a Ponzi scheme, that would be where the exploiter side is at. I can think of a couple of stories here, if it's okay to share with you,
Yeah.
real quick, Ben. We worked with a client who their advisor was found out that they were exploiting their clients, and they were kicked out of the industry as an advisor, and
Wow.
they were left without an advisor and needed to sit down and meet with another advisor. We were fortunate enough to have them referred to us. And as we sat down with them, boy, the PTSD was really strong, because once you get that type of trust destroyed, it's really hard to trust someone else. And it was to the point where they may not be able to make it through to the end financially, as they were already a retired couple. But I'm glad that we were able to kind of dig in, see what we could be able to do. And gosh, this has probably been 15 years ago. Happy to say that the client is in the best place they've ever been 15 years later. And really, it comes down to giving that advice that was best for them at that point in time. But some of the signs that I would say to watch out for exploiters are people that are kind of making it sound too good to be true. From time to time, I'll have a client that will tell me, hey, I heard about this deal that uses the G word. I always get worried using the G word in our industry. That's the guaranteed word. I'm guaranteed to be able to make this or make that, because I've found in life there is no such thing as guarantees, and only talk about the upsides and what it can be able to do. And they also look to be a very transactional relationship versus an ongoing relationship that's meeting with the client on a regular basis.
Are you ready to unlock the freedom to live your best life? Schedule your no-cost 60-minute discovery meeting with our team today. During this session, we'll take the time to understand your family story and financial dreams. Together, we'll craft a personalized roadmap designed to help you achieve your goals. Let's explore how we can unlock the freedom for you and your family to thrive. Just click the link in the description of today's show to get started.
Well, I'm glad you shared those stories too, because I think that's also important to remind people that, it's not too late to kind of change your path or your course, right? To kind of correct things. And I know it can seem hopeless, like that story time, especially if you fall victim to something like that. But there are things you can do to put yourself in a better position.
And I would say never be scared to have a second opinion.
Okay.
It's important to be able to, if you have a small inkling, reach out and get a second opinion out there that maybe isn't so biased. Um, Recently, one of our employees here, Britton, was working with a client of ours, and she came across a professional that was not necessarily in the finance industry, but was trying to solicit her services. And she called us and mentioned what she was going through. And I immediately saw some red flags and had some concerns. And so Britton jumped on and was trying to be able to understand from this other professional the services they're providing and why they were charging the way they were. And eventually the client kind of admitted to Britton, said, I can tell now looking back, I was so fearful. They had me so fearful to even say no or to ask the right questions. And so I think that's where having an advocate or someone that you can turn to just say, give me a second opinion, set another set of eyes in here, because sometimes we get so locked in. And I think these exploiters are really good at playing on the fear of individuals to take advantage of them.
That's a great point. So check out axiowm.com to learn more and to get that second opinion if you want to bounce something off Axio or just have those discussion about something you might be worried about or curious about. So we got 3 of the 4 now. This brings us to the one that we're actually looking for, right?
Right, it is. Your consummate professionals. I mean, these are the ones that are out there trying and striving to be able to do what's right for client. They definitely put the client's interest in above their own interest. And that should be something that you can tell that makes you feel different. Sometimes I joke being a financial advisor is like being another bottle of barbecue sauce on the grocery store shelf that's indistinguishable from others as far as what clients look at, what sets one apart from the other. Hopefully that there's things that are being done in the meetings that you can tell that they're different from every other advisor that's out there by the questions that they're asking, the advice that they're giving, and the level and concern that they have for you. I mean, I think you can really identify that's there. And once you could find that consummate professional, that's when you want to hold on to, because that's the one that's going to really help you have the best chances for success.
Yeah, that's great. And that's, again, the ideal situation for many people. But again, that's what the discovery process is for, right? Right, Rob, just to kind of get into that, discuss these things that are curious to you as someone looking for an advisor, and to get to learn more and really you can kind of ask these questions and really get a true sense of what Axio is. But whoever that you're discussing with, that first meeting is a great chance to really kind of learn and identify some of these maybe red flags that might be out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know one story I want to share there on that consummate professional, if it's okay, Ben, here, just real quick. We worked with a client here that had a professional for 25 years, and they were a consummate professional, took care of this family, did a phenomenal job at it. It just happened that their career was coming to an end and they needed to find another advisor. We're fortunate enough that we were selected on that side. But this advisor, even knowing that they were switching and transitioning, did everything they could to help the client have the smoothest of transitions and things of that nature. So I know that there are consummate professionals that exist out there. The key, like I said, hold on to them, because that 25-year relationship did wonders for this client, and we're just feel very grateful we get to carry on that tradition.
Yeah, it's hard, and especially this day and age, Rob, it's hard to find someone that really truly puts the client, the customer first. And when you find that relationship or find that professional that does that, it's invaluable, really, in a lot of aspects, and takes away a lot of the worry and concern you might have in whatever field that is. But with your finances, it's so important. There's a lot of emotion around that, and a lot of people can get worked up and upset about that. So you want to have someone on your side that can help deliver that to you. And again, Axio Wealth Management, happy to sit down and explain their process. We have videos on the YouTube channel that you can check out to explain how they put a team together of professionals that work for you to help find the ideal solution for you as an individual. So make sure you check those out. And please, if you haven't, subscribe to the channel as well. We'd appreciate that. Rob, great stuff. Helpful to find these 4 financial professionals and just be aware of what's out there. And hopefully we all find the consummate professional for us.
Absolutely. And again, I think it's about taking that proactive approach for you to live that best life and to have that professional help give advice of how you can live that best life. You've got to start making that conscious decision to take that step to be able to gain that relationship if you don't already have one.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you being a part of Legacy Beyond Wealth. We'll talk to you again on the next episode. Take care.
Thanks, Ben.